After my grandparents died in a car crash, their lawyer revealed that I was the sole heir to their $27 million estate. My name is Jessica and this is my story. I'm from Boston, Massachusetts, and I've always been known as the quiet one, but I had a different kind of strength. The evening my grandparents passed away, I believed sorrow would be the most difficult thing to face. I was mistaken. At the reading of the last will and testament, the attorney's voice resonated like a gunshot. To my grandchild, I bequeath the entirety of my estate valued at $26 million. Silence was followed by a commotion. My father slammed his hand on the desk. My mother demanded answers. My siblings glared at me as if I had stolen something sacred. As for me, I remained motionless because I knew the storm was about to break. My grandparents were the only ones who had ever truly seen me, while the rest of my family dismissed me as the reserved one, the disappointment. My grandparents told a different tale. Patience is power, you'll see. They taught me loyalty, they taught me self-control. And most importantly, they taught me that biological ties aren't love, actions are. That is why their estate came to me. Not because I requested it, not because I demanded it, but because I earned it. But my family couldn't see it that way. To them it was robbery. To them I was an obstacle. It didn't take long. That same night after the lawyer departed, their facades dropped. My brother Arian sneered, "Hand it over. It belongs to all of us." My mother hissed, "Your grandparents weren't thinking clearly." And my father delivered the verdict. "If you don't surrender it, you are no longer welcome in this residence." I refused. Moments later my bags were on the porch. The door slammed behind me. My family, my bloodline, chose greed over me. I didn't weep, I didn't plead. I drove directly to my grandparents' house, the one place that was truly mine. That night, as I walked through the empty corridors, I made a commitment. I wouldn't escape, I wouldn't conceal myself. I would make them regret underestimating me. I understood my family well. They wouldn't give up, they'd come for the estate, for the house, for everything. But they didn't comprehend one thing: I was not alone. My grandparents had prepared me for this moment long before their deaths. Step 1. Secure the assets. I contacted the attorney, activating provisions in the will that transferred assets into my sole possession, liquid accounts, investments, property deeds, all secured. Step 2. Defense. My grandparents had old connections, acquaintances who owed them favors. One was a retired federal judge, another a former police captain. And then there was a man named Jack, my grandfather's closest ally, a man who had spent 30 years in intelligence before he retired quietly. These were more than just names, these were shields, partners, people my family couldn't intimidate or bribe. Step 3. Wait, let my family come to me. Let them believe I was weak, then show them precisely how wrong they were. The next morning, I heard the crunch of tires on gravel. My family arrived in large numbers, my parents, siblings, even cousins I hadn't spoken to in ages. United not by affection, but by greed, they marched up the steps as if they owned the property. My father pounded on the door. "Open up, this house is not yours. Get out before we pull you out." I opened the door calmly and stepped aside. Behind me stood Jack, broad-shouldered and with a steely gaze, a man who didn't need to raise his voice to command reverence. Beside him stood the judge and the police captain, 3 silent witnesses, 3 immovable forces. The atmosphere shifted. My family's faces froze, the bravado vanished. My brother Arian stuttered, "Who are they?" I smiled, "Friends of the family, the real family." The judge spoke first, his voice as sharp as steel. "This property is legally owned by your sibling. Any attempt to interfere will be considered trespassing." The police captain stepped forward. "And I will ensure every single one of you faces legal action if you try." Jack didn't utter a word. He just stared at them. That was enough. For the first time in my existence, I watched my parents stumble backward. Fear replaced their arrogance. They left that day humiliated, but their defeat wasn't just legal, it was psychological. Because what they saw wasn't just me standing in that doorway. It was every choice they'd made, every dismissal, every betrayal, staring back at them in judgment. I didn't need to raise my voice. I didn't need revenge through violence or chaos, all I needed was the truth. They were powerless, without control, and they would never control me again. That evening, I sat by the fireplace in my grandparents' house. My future and my children would grow up here, surrounded by affection, not poisoned by favoritism or greed. I thought of my grandparents, of how they always told me patience was power. They were correct. My family tried to expel me, strip me of my dignity, and force me into surrender. Instead, they lost everything. I didn't just inherit money. I inherited wisdom, strategy, and fortitude. And as I watched the flames crackle, one truth burned brighter than the rest. Revenge doesn't always require bloodshed. Sometimes it only requires standing upright when your adversaries expect you to crawl. 2 years later, I learned it through mutual acquaintances that my family had fractured completely. The siblings blamed each other for losing the inheritance. My parents, once proud and commanding, had aged quickly under financial pressure. The house they had thrown me out of went into foreclosure within 18 months. They never contacted me directly, but I heard they had hired lawyers trying to dispute the will. Each attempt failed. My grandparents had been thorough, every clause ironclad, every provision legally bulletproof. They had known this day would come and had protected me from beyond the grave. I have renovated the estate now, transforming it into something that honors their memory while making it truly mine. The walls hold new photographs of friends who chose to be family, mentors who saw my worth, and children I hope to have who will grow up knowing love is unconditional and respect is non-negotiable. Sometimes I walk the same halls where my grandparents once told me stories, where they whispered that patience was power. Their voices echo in every room, reminding me that the greatest inheritance they left wasn't money. It was the knowledge that I was worthy of protection, worthy of love, and worthy of a legacy. My biological family taught me what abandonment felt like. My grandparents taught me what belonging meant. And in that silence, when their faces froze in shock, when they realized I wasn't the helpless child they had discarded, I knew I had already won the only victory that mattered, the freedom to choose my own family, build my own legacy, and live without apology for refusing to settle for less than I deserved. The estate is peaceful now, but it's the good kind of peaceful. The kind that comes from tranquility, not emptiness. And every night when I lock the doors my grandparents left me, I sleep knowing I am exactly where I belong. If you enjoyed the video, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next story.